The ordering process for Ultimate Fighting Championship pay-per-views has changed. UFC 239 is only available on ESPN in the US. Fight Facts is a breakdown of all of the interesting information and Octagon oddities on every card, with some puns, references and portmanteaus to keep things fun. These deep stat dives delve into the numbers, providing historical context and telling the stories behind those numbers. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Total number of UFC fights, 5,199. Total number of UFC events, 483. The Ultimate Fighting Championship on Saturday returned to Minneapolis for the first time since 2012 and did so with a barn-burner of an event. UFC on ESPN 3 featured a perennial flyweight contender punching his ticket to another title shot, the winningest Brazilian in the UFC chalking up another victory, and the heavyweight predator adding another skull to his trophy case. Behold LA Violencia, 7 fights on the card ended by stoppage due to strikes, tying 12 other shows for the 6th most knockouts at an event. The 5 events with more each had 8 on their respective nights. I told you, don't call me Junior. The only 2 fighters on the active roster with the forename Junior Albini and Junior Dos Santos, competed at UFC on ESPN 3. The 2 had never competed on the same card together, and both lost by first-round knockout. Andy stole Pee-wee's bike. Francis Ngannou has only needed a combined 2:22 seconds to dispatch Dos Santos, Curtis Blades and Cain Velasquez. Comparatively, it took Ngannou as long to finish Dos Santos, 71 seconds, as it did to stop Blades and Velasquez combined, 71 seconds, and go out, after smashing Dos Santos in a little over a minute. All 14 of Ngannou's wins have now come by stoppage within 2 rounds, including 10 inside round 1. On the other hand, each of his 3 defeats came on the scorecards. La Predateur, Ngannou's 71-second knockout was his 7th in the UFC to take place before the 2-minute mark. Only Frank Mir has more stoppages at heavyweight within 2 minutes, 7, although 5 of those came by submission. Heir to this Demolition Man throne, Ngannou has finished his last 3 opponents within 2 minutes, joining Vitor Belfort and Shane Carwin as the only other UFC heavyweights to accomplish such a feat. That man a title shot by defeating Jassier Formiga in the 2nd round. Joseph Benavidez tied Demetrius Johnson for the most wins in UFC flyweight history with 13. Joe bones about it. Benavidez's knockout gave him his 5th in the flyweight division, more than any other UFC fighter. The finish was his 6th and includes a submission of Tim Elliott in 2014. Benavidez holds the 2nd most stoppage victories in the division, trailing Johnson with 7. One bad Benavidez, in dispatching Formiga with a head kick and follow-up punches. Benavidez scored the 4th head kick knockout in UFC flyweight history. WHO says the division doesn't have power. Formiga suffered his 3rd knockout loss at flyweight, tying John Moraga, Willie Gates and Wilson Reese for the most stoppage losses in divisional history. I faced it all, and I stood tall. Damian Maia earned his 21st UFC win, more than every fighter to ever step foot inside the octagon not named Donald Cerrone, 23, and did it Maia way. Maia's bout with Martin marks the 30th time he has walked to the UFC cage, tying Jeremy Stevens for 3rd on the all-time appearances list. They trail only Cerrone and Jim Miller, who each have 32 UFC fights. Some DOBERING thoughts. By laying out Marco Polo Reyes in 67 seconds, Drew Dober earned his 8th career knockout victory. In addition, he holds 7 wins on the scorecards and another 6 by submission. On the other side, he holds 5 losses at the hands of the judges, along with 4 stoppage losses. It should be noted that Dober has made 3 different fighters tap to strikes, and he also holds 2 clean KO wins. Finally, Dober had one bout declared a no contest when the Brazilian MMA Athletic Commission overturned a mistaken submission loss in 2015. Alonzo not in mourning. Alonzo Menafield demolished Paul Craig in the first round, improving his unbeaten record to 9-0. All 9 of his wins have come by stoppage, including 8 by knockout, with 7 having occurred in the opening frame. Mammoth undertaking, win or lose, Vinicius Moreira has still never gone the distance in his 12-fight career. It took 78 seconds for Eric Anders to separate Moreira from his senses. All of Moreira's fights have ended before the second round came to a close. Never Say Never Again, coming into UFC on ESPN 3, Roosevelt Roberts had never been defeated, 8 fights, Journey Newson had never lost on the scorecards, 10 fights, and Daquan Townsend had never been knocked out, 29 fights. I love it when a plan comes together. In Walking Out 2, God's Plan by Drake, Ngannou became only the second fighter to use this song and go on to win the fight. Anthony Pettis did so first when submitting Michael Chiesa in 2018. Along with those 2 wins, the song accounts for 6 recorded losses from various fighters in the last 2 years. Game, Blouses, Newson made a bold walkout song choice for his Octagon debut, electing to use When Doves Cry by Minnesota legend Prince. Newson lost, and no recorded fighter to use a Prince song has ever won a fight in the UFC. Sherdog contributing editor Jay Petrie is an attorney and a statistician. Writing about MMA since he started studying the Eminem curse in 2012 and working for Vice Sports and Combat Docket along the way, he put together many fight results and entrance music databases to better study the sport. You can find him on Twitter at @JPetrie. Let's block ads. Why?